where are the funds to even, because I mean, maybe some people are realistically thinking about building a court here in the near future. I am not one of them. It's just not something, I mean, enhancements, immediate enhancements need to be done. I think it is something that we need to provide for long term. I just don't see it in the next 24, 48 months type situation. So if we take the $4 million to shore up the general fund, where are we getting the money to seal the roof and whatever other problems they've identified aside from security, which I think the security issue is the biggest reason why construction of an entirely new building really comes into play as to why we would want to move forward even though the economic times. Because I don't know that we could make substantial enough security measure improvements within the existing building. I mean, just the hall space alone. I mean, what are you going to do? Put up a bulletin partition and them on the side, us on the other? I don't know. So I think because of space and the security issue is what makes the new building a bigger concern. But if we take the money and then the court no longer collects for the building fund, are we looking at DDA forced to bond out or general fund bonds in order to meet a new building?
The other thing I think we need to look at is that there were funds specifically assessed for that purpose. It's like a, sorry? Funds.
Fines were specifically assessed.
But, no, it was, each judge would say, you've got fines and costs of this much, you're going to contribute this much to the Crime Victims' Right Fund, and you're contributing to the building fund. So it was set out specifically. This is what you're contributing. So it's kind of like a millage for one purpose, and then later saying, yeah, we don't need that, we'll take it for elsewhere. No, it's not legally a millage or anything of that nature, but it's the same thing. They were taxed for a certain purpose, and now we're saying, no, we're not going to use it for that purpose.
Do you think the defendants could ask for that money back if it's appropriate?
I think
Ms. Martin has the floor.
Madam Chair, I think that by taking the $4 million out of the court, we're prolonging the inevitable. We're doing a patch job on the budget, getting funds that are available, which next year we're going to be faced with the same thing. Then we're not going to have the money for the court. If we're prolonging what we need to do right now with this budget, I mean, we just need to address everything at hand here and not try to take $4 million out of a fund that has been set aside.
Mr. Bacamino?
I was trying to figure out how this is different from last year's proposal to take from the Parks and Rec designated village fund. We were going to use that last year at one point. It was proposed. Why? Someone's been right here.
well, actually, at one time we did reduce the sanitation.
Correct. That's why I'm trying to figure out the last year's proposed Parks and Rec cuts. What we're going to take from them one time, and then
We're going to reduce their millage
right.
so that we could increase the general fund. Yes. It's not taking a fund that's already been built to slap a Band-Aid over a gaping hole.
Well, it seems like there's and maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a consensus on the fact that anybody in favor of taking that money? There's not a consensus on that?
From the Parks and Rec?
No,
We reduced it this year.
No, I'm talking about the $4 million in the court fund.
I guess, are we still able to reduce the Parks and Rec fund this year to levy the police fire bill to offset that? Is that still an option? Is that off the table?
Is any option we want to make it as a consensus group?
It was an option last year, yeah. Some support for it, I think. For last year, something to consider this year.
I have no problem. We have that on the list.
Do you mean the $4 million?
No, he's saying
He's
to,
saying-
Then what do you think?
oh,
The way demands to reduce the Parks and Rec mill to levy the police fire retirement mill, offset the tax rate.
So it's, we're
Correct. Is
still
that what it was
levying the
last year?
same amount of taxes is what you're saying, but we're gonna take that, we're not gonna charge as much in Parks and Rec.
Whatever the proposal was last year, as I understood it, was to offset the
Reduce Parks and Rec
Parks and Rec.
some portion, and then increase the general fund millage. So you're just changing one millage to another. Problem is, Parks and Rec millage is up next year. They're going to be asking for renewal. And we say Parks and Rec doesn't need it. It's not going to be renewed. So that could very well be, that could happen.
It wasn't an option last year, I'm just saying it's on the table this year too.
Yeah.
We could do that. I'm under the understanding, I'm not sure, is the Parks and Rec, I know this question was asked on this vote before though, when was that, was going to be held? February?
There was,
There's not been a determination.
Correct.
Personally, I think it would be wise to do it in August of this year.
Too late to do it though, for August? Sorry,
It's our decision.
Correct.
Goes on.
I would just like to say that's still an option, actually should be on the table though.
I have a suggestion. Oh, I'm sorry. Structure recycling. The curbside recycling is currently costing us between $530,000 and $600,000 a year. That's after you deduct what we make on the $25 per ton. So what I would like to do, I mean, certainly nobody wants to eliminate recycling. I mean, in fact, it's a shame that we don't have more taking place. But, well, maybe some do, okay? I'm not one of them. I think we need to restructure it in the fact that either we create drop zones where people deliver it to a specific location and we pick it up, or possibly even consider contracting it out where companies pay us to come in and collect our recyclables. And what I would like to do with that, unfortunately, this doesn't really advocate a overall cost savings to the budget. Rather than spending that $530,000 to $600,000 a year on recycling, I'd rather reallocate the funds saved from restructuring the program and put it into local roads. You know, we've kicked around before about, you know, are we gonna need a special assessment, are we gonna need millages, or, you know, how are we, in the 8 years I've been here, we've done minimal as being actually nice in saying of what we've done to address local roads, and I see this as and I'm sure all of you do as well, see this as just an exceedingly growing need of attention. I know one of the items that is hurting us, and it's, you know, no offense to them, but paper is one of the heaviest items that you can recycle. And being that all the local churches, God bless them, and all the schools are doing paper recycling on, and a lot of people specifically will deliver it to the church or school that they support. We're taking a hit. We're getting the lighter weight stuff. To where I think instead of having it where we're paying to pick up at every individual house should they happen to participate, I think either creating drop zones here at the community center, city hall, stuff like that, or, you know, maybe it's just at the, deliver it to the transfer station, although that's a little, I think you'll see less participation because that's a little inconvenient for some people. It's something that we need to look at. I think unfortunately it's the idea of protecting the environment and recycling is a wonderful thing, and it's something that we should get behind, but at this point the city cannot make that profitable. It's my understanding that it's seasonal employees in those positions, not that they aren't valuable as well, and I'm sorry in that situation, but a minimum of over $500,000 a year is going into a program that we're only seeing, actually it's more than that. I think it's more like $700,000 a year that's going into that, and we're realizing between 180 to 200,000 back on what we're getting paid for by the ton. It just doesn't make sense, it's not cost effective, and when we have something that is in major need and has no option for funding currently, the local roads, that's a significant amount of money for us, much like the courts have done, start building a kitty. I think Mr. Shadid had explained to us that even $1 million wouldn't cover a significant amount of roadway. I mean, it's such an expensive undertaking. So that's the biggest chunk of 1 mile.
Yeah,
I didn't even think it would do 1 mile,
That's
but
So you do half a mile.
right, but over time, it's something.
One lane, yeah, one lane.
One lane.
But I'm looking at side streets, okay? I mean, not that their main roads don't need attention to, but that's something in cooperation with where the county takes control of some of those roads. They're doing the repairs on the bridges, so we are seeing a lot of improvement in the city, but we've got to get into these side streets. They've been neglected too long. So that's something I'd like to throw out there for council to consider. Mr. Buckingham.
I agree if we have to cut, recycling, even as an educator, there are churches and schools that can be consolidated, we already have those in place. That's a great idea. People are already have their community neighborhood drop-off zone. The 500,000 that we would recoup though, I think, as the gentleman here said, for a half a mile, even a side street a year, I'd rather see that if we're in that dire straits, I'm recycling, because that police fire, I think our priorities are still there. If we're looking at, maybe we're at 120 fire, we can go back to 126. I'd rather see the recycling money be used for our police and fire rather than just, a half a mile road a year. The city our size isn't even effective. So, but I do think you're right. If we get to the point where we have to abandon recycling, it's something that could go, but to save, I think, some of the other priorities. And I know roads are our priority, but for that amount of money, I think 3 police officers might be better use of it.
Mr. Snelson.
Add to Mr. Bocchino, right now, the city repairs what they call classified number 10, failure of concrete. It has to be pretty substantial failure. You could use that money and maybe repair 8 lines as well. So you're not replacing the entire street, but you're now throwing in that little bit longer.
Well, I think this, maybe for better clarification, would be ask Mr. Shadid, how many class 10s do you have? Where are your road conditions? I mean, I know you've discussed it in brief, but maybe if we got a fuller picture from Mr. Shadid, because Reed Street is one that always comes to mind. We hear about it all the time. I know that George Demas spoke about that in 1999, saying it looked like Beirut then.
But we've even got letters that say.
So, I think Mr. Shadid has far more.
War zone.
Yeah, I think he has far more, and he addresses what he can through the CDBG or the different funding mechanisms that he has, but I mean, I think at most, we only address maybe 2 or 3, and even then, they're not full half-mile stretches. They're this corner section where we redid a catch basin, it's where we redid a crosswalk, something like that, but I personally don't think he'd have any trouble creating a very large list of things he'd like to address and could address if he had some fun. Just something to consider. Anything else from council members?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. List?
Thank you. Like I said last time, or during the budget hearings, I still believe that Parks and Recreation has to reduce their structural deficit to 0, and also communications, especially considering